Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and welcome aboard the Eastern Express. On this episode of the show, we dive into a development from the crossroads of Europe and Asia, Turkey's flirtation with the BRICS club. You know, the club that was initially a low-key 5-state country club? Yeah, it's almost doubled in members since January 1st of this year. Ankara seems to think that joining the economic party thrown by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with recent additions like Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, might just be their ticket to the global Powerball. Is this a tantrum against the EU, or maybe a project that is meant to take Turkey to the next level? Let's take a look at our latest report to find out more.
Turkey is trying to revive its stalled bid to join the European Union, one of its biggest trade partners, while simultaneously pursuing new alliances that could help expand its economy. Ankara has reached out to BRICS in a potential sign of frustration over the lack of progress in talks to join the EU. During a state visit of Turkish Foreign Minister Fidan in Moscow, Putin welcomed the prospect of the country joining the ranks of the group. The size of the BRICS group, named after members Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, doubled at the start of 2024, with the inclusion of Iran, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia and Egypt. Turkey has been a member of NATO and part of Europe's defense system for a long time. But it's failed to make progress on negotiations with the EU since the start of its accession talks back in 2005, facing a series of problems including democratic shortcomings, a vital requirement which EU demands from all members. Fidan's visit to Moscow and previous visit to China appear to be aimed at pushing the EU to focus on talks with Turkey, while Ankara maintains a delicate balance in an increasingly polarized world. Turkey's foreign policy often involves leveraging its strategic location at the crossroads of Europe, Russia, the Middle East, the South Caucasus and Central Asia. As an ally that no one wants to lose, Turkey's recent comments on BRICS and seeking alternatives from the EU should be approached with caution by Western states.
And now let's take a look at the issue in greater detail. First off, let's lay down the basics. BRICS isn't just a group, it wants to be portrayed as the VIP lounge of emerging economies. And lately, Turkey has been like that eager party guest waving from the outside, hoping that someone will notice and say, hey, why don't you come in? Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan has been quite the globetrotter, pitching Ankara's membership to anyone in BRICS willing to listen, most recently in China and in Russia. Why the sudden love for BRICS, you ask? Well, Ankara had its fair share of economic teeter-totters recently, especially within traditional powers in the West. Joining BRICS could mean diversified trade routes, new investment highways, and essentially not putting all their economic eggs in one basket. Economically speaking, it's like Turkey wants to play in all the playgrounds, not just the Western sandbox. Well, Russia seems to be holding the BRICS door open for Ankara, saying, come on in, the water's fine. The US and other Western allies are more like overprotective parents at the pool. Yet, despite these worries, Turkey isn't looking to turn its back on NATO or its cafe dates with the EU. No, joining BRICS for Ankara is more about adding another set of tools to its foreign policy toolkit. At home, President Erdogan is pushing for the BRICS membership badge, but not everyone is cheering. Some fear it might mean having to play nice with countries that have, let's say, different approach to things like, market rules and human rights. Well, there are those who see it as a chance to stand a bit taller on the world stage, to maybe even reshape some global narratives. Let's not forget the domestic chatter back in Ankara and beyond, because it's never just about economics or politics, right? It's about national pride, about strategic autonomy, a phrase that sounds great on paper but is as complicated in practice as assembling furniture without the instructions. Critics argue whether this BRICS move might be too bold, too fast, or just right for Turkey's ambition to be a central player in the multipolar world. So, as Ankara stands at this crossroads, weighing its option like a contestant on a game show, one can help but wonder, will it take the deal or no deal? Will the pursuit of a BRICS membership card pay off, or will it be like buying a gym membership that you never use? Only time will tell, but for now, Turkey's story is a reminder that in a game of international politics, sometimes you have to roll the dice, hoping the numbers that come up favor your strategic bets. And now, here to shed more light on the issue is Dr. Konrad Rzeszów, a faculty of Oriental Studies at the University of Warsaw. Hello, sir, and welcome to Eastern Express.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So when the acronym BRICS first cropped up, many thought it's just another one of those alphabet soup organizations, but it seems to be gaining dominance. Do you think that will eventually become something that can challenge the U.S. or Western economic hegemony?
Yeah, well, in the short term, definitely not. I wouldn't compare it to the EU, BRICS organization, which consists of very different countries, very different economies. I mean, in terms of size, but in terms of also geography. So all those BRICS countries, they obviously they have this several common goals, like building counterbalance to the West, to the United States, to the European Union. Of course, there are issues such as so-called de-dollarization, so switching to the local currencies. But on the other hand, they have also very different goals between themselves, so they differ very much. And it's no surprise, because we talk about countries which are located in a very different parts of the planet. So it's natural that they have different political, different economic interests, and there are even some countries which are in conflict with each other.
Right, like you mentioned, internal cohesiveness seems to be a problem within the BRICS nation. So that draws us to the point where Turkey comes into play. Can you help us understand why it's pursuing also to perhaps becoming one of the BRICS countries?
This is, as always, in case of Turkey, is part of this diplomatic bargaining process. So for Turkey, the EU is the most important economic partner, the EU countries. But obviously, because of political reasons, on both sides, on the side of Turkey, but also on the side of decision makers in the European Union, the process of European integration of Turkey stopped many years ago, and we don't see any positive signs of any progress. So there are issues such as common building closer at least economic ties between the EU and Turkey, but nothing changes in recent years. So Turkey is trying to show to the Europeans, to the European states, to the European Union, that there is an alternative, and BRICS, and it's trying to picture this possible membership in BRICS as such an alternative.
Right, you just mentioned Turkey being a bargain economy, or a bargain when it comes to politics. So if you can help us understand whether this move by Turkey is an actual intention to be part of the BRICS union, or do you think that it is something that the Turkish is trying to leverage to perhaps have the European Union push them, nudge them a little bit in their accession talks?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, it's rather a diplomatic tool, and the goal is to bargain with the European Union. But of course, there are other goals. Obviously, Turkey is interested in closer economic ties with Asian countries, with African countries, also with some South American countries. So yes, it's but it's normal. So if you look at the EU countries, the EU leaders are also traveling to Beijing and trying to have some to better the political and economic relation with China. So it's nothing different in case of Turkey. Of course, in this BRICS construction, BRICS format, China plays the most important role. So I think it's also very much about having closer relationship with Beijing. But as I said, also African countries are important because we know that BRICS is expanding, so there will be more African countries in this organization. So diplomatically, yes, it can help Turkey to achieve their goals in these kind of regions, which we usually call the global south. So Turkey wants to be a part of this global south and be in this alliance.
All right, and going back to what you mentioned about the internal cohesiveness and this kind of very diverse culture in the BRICS organization, making things a little bit hard to coordinate. Do you think that there will be a problem for Turkey if it wants to cooperate with that association even more, that the cultural differences, the political differences will also make it hard for them to function within?
Well, I think there are other organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is also led by China, but this one is more kind of Eurasian organization, which is also to some extent involved in security issues, and I think that would be a problem for the Western allies of NATO allies of Turkey to have inside of NATO country, which is also part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. But in case of BRICS, it's such a vague organization with very many countries, as I said, having different and sometimes conflicting goals. So I don't think it will be a huge problem for the partners and allies of Turkey, even if this will happen. I mean, membership of Turkey in BRICS.
All right, and of course, when we talk about the BRICS organization, we can't ignore the big R there, meaning Russia. Do you think that Turkey kind of warming up to BRICS also would lead to them maybe opening up the channel with Russia and maybe have Turkey leaning more towards that than that of the West?
Of course, if you look at the Russian media, how they talk and picture this wish of Turkey to become a member of BRICS, they show it as a sign that Turkey is trying to leave NATO and the alliance with Western countries, with the United States, and have a quite new alliance with non-Western countries. And Russia is trying to portray this as its own diplomatic success, because of course Russia recently supported this Turkish bid to become a member of BRICS. But I think it's more issue of propaganda, because realistically, yes, Turkey is cooperating with Russia. Yes, Turkey is a economic channel window for Russia to the outside world because of the sanctions. But that doesn't mean that Turkey and also other countries, they totally ignore international sanctions. So they are also a part of many sanctions and against Russia because of the Western pressure, because of the United States pressure. So I don't think it will change a lot for Russia. Besides the fact that it looks good in Russian media and Russian propaganda, but realistically it will not change a lot.
Right. What about a meeting that will take place soon on July 1st in Shanghai, where Erdogan will be meeting Putin? Do you think, like you mentioned, Russia has been using Turkey as a channel to avoid sanctions? And do you think that this is also a channel for Russia to kind of have a negotiation with the broader Western world?
Yes. So as I mentioned, the Turkish-Russian relationship are close since at least 2016. And now at this point, Turkey is more important for Russia than Russia for Turkey. Putin may show that it's not that isolated by meeting with such an important politician as Erdogan, president of Turkey, but Putin. Although he was invited to visit Turkey, he was probably afraid because this is, after all, a NATO country. So this summit will be a good occasion to meet on the neutral ground and again to have some pictures and show that Russia is not that isolated as many think.
All right, and of course, we do know that Erdogan will be going to the NATO summit in Washington just very shortly after that meeting. So my question would be, is that going to affect how the negotiations are being made going forward in Washington? And how's Washington going to see the relationship?
Well, of course, from the point of view of Washington, all those attempts, Erdogan's attempts to get closer to China, get closer to Russia, it's something which is, of course, they don't like it. Yes, but again, we should look realistically what Turkey can build together with Russia. So I don't think, as I said, now the roles change. Now it's Turkey is the country which is very important for Russian economy, for Putin's politics as well. Not the other way. So Russia is not that important anymore for Turkey. It's maybe China in this organization, BRICS. It's of course the biggest economy and one of the biggest economies in the world. And of course, Turkey may realistically think about having bigger trade with China. But as I said, this is a goal which many European countries have as well.
All right, thank you so much for your input and insight and helping us unpack this situation. Really appreciate it. Thanks again for being with us on Eastern Express.
Thank you.
And now we're moving on to the Eastern News Flash, a series of all the other stories from the East that you don't want to miss. The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant for Russia's former defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, and chief of the General Staff, Valery Gerasimov. The warrants accuse them both of directing a series of missile strikes against Ukrainian electric infrastructure, causing considerable harm to civilians.
The situation of Ukraine's power grid is critical. Due to Russian missile strikes, the country has lost 70% of its generation capacity, resulting in widespread power shortages and blackouts. The International Criminal Court has raised concerns about the strikes, emphasizing that even if some installations were considered military targets, the harm to civilians and damage would outweigh any potential military advantage. The court found reasonable grounds to believe that Shoigu and Gerasimov intentionally caused great suffering and serious injury to the physical and mental health of Ukrainian civilians. Although Russia is not a party to the Rome Statute, meaning it doesn't recognize the ICC's jurisdiction, the court notes that public awareness of these warrants might contribute to the prevention of further crimes.
Ukraine's European Union accession talks have begun, marking a major milestone in the country's long journey towards EU membership. The Hungarian Prime Minister, while critical, has said that his country won't block the negotiations.
A round of applause celebrated a historical and long-awaited day for Ukraine. The European Union and Kyiv have begun membership talks, a process that could take years and which Russia has historically tried to prevent. The accession negotiations began during an intergovernmental conference held in Luxembourg. Before the conference, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba stressed that the EU accession would be a significant event for Europe. He explained the negotiation process will be carried out in 6 clusters, aiming to bring Ukraine's legislation in line with that of EU's. Importantly, Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban said his country won't block Ukraine's accession. This decision is a relief for many, as Hungary, known as the EU's most pro-Russian member, constantly opposes the Union's collective military aid to Ukraine and is currently obstructing 7 related decisions worth around 6.6 billion euros.
As part of the 14th package of sanctions, the European Union has blocked 3 Russian media sources. In response, the Kremlin blocked dozens of European outlets, including Belsat, a Belarusian TV channel based in Poland.
The EU has been progressively increasing its sanctions against Russia. In the newest decision, the European Union blocked Russian media, which was met with harsh response from the Kremlin, blocking 81 European media outlets, including Belsat. The Russian Foreign Ministry issued a special statement, citing the EU's decision to ban the broadcasting activities of 3 Russian media outlets as the reason for the retaliatory action. The inclusion of Belsat, a television channel that operates within the framework of the Polish public broadcaster which aims to counter Belarusian propaganda, on the list of sanctioned media outlets is largely symbolic. Its portals have been effectively blocked in Russia due to joint regulations imposed by Russia and Belarus. In 2021, Belsat TV and its websites were labeled as extremist media in Belarus, rendering them ineligible for broadcasting within the Russian Federation.
The US State Department has recently published a list of countries sponsoring human trafficking, and both Russia and Belarus are included. The report highlights more than a dozen nations where documented policies or patterns of human trafficking exists.
Russia and Belarus have been listed as countries sponsoring human trafficking. Patterns highlighted by the US State Department for inclusion on the list include government-sponsored trade in humans, forced labor within the healthcare sector or other industries, sexual slavery in government-run camps, and the recruitment or employment of child soldiers. The US Department of State's list includes 13 countries. These nations have been implicit in various forms of human rights abuses related to trafficking. Russia and Belarus are included on the list for many reasons. Notably, hundreds of Ukrainian children abducted during the occupation of Donbas have ended up in Russian adoption centers. Belarusian authorities have also been involved in the removal and indoctrination of Ukrainian children, collaborating with Russian authorities through summer camps and charitable foundations, as well as the government-controlled branch of the Red Cross.
And that's all on this episode of Eastern Express. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.